Hello guys, welcome back to the Shintaro Higashi show with not Peter Yu today. Peter Yu is the guy usually, but we're here with Greg Reagan, right? And we're going to talk today about my experience at Big Bear City. It's a seminar that I did in California, right, at Lighthouse BJJ.
So how was it? How was
it was great. It was great. It was a very small jiu-jitsu school up in the mountains, Big Bear City, run by this woman, Jessica, and she's really great. And then, like, you know what's really cool about going to these seminars? It's like you go and you get to experience their local culture, you get to train with their students, you know, and you get to see another part of the country, you know?
Yeah.
If it's international, another country, period.
Right, right.
Yeah, it was a great time, man. The mountains are beautiful.
Cool spot to train.
Cool spot to train. She has like this interesting side. It's like the grappler's dream. She has a house, and on the same lot, she has her jiu-jitsu school. She built out like this, you know.
So she just rolls out of bed right to
it's
grappling.
Literally like 10 steps away.
That's amazing.
Yeah, she has the kid there and everything. She just like gets up, does her thing, walks over, teaches privates, does physio, has her jiu-jitsu classes.
Wow.
You know, it's wonderful. She subcontracted, like she GC'd the whole thing, right? Got the subcontractors in, built it out herself.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Out there, people out west, man, they're pioneers.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
make it happen.
They're living it. They're living the dream. You know? So that was a pretty cool experience.
How was the crew? How was training out there?
Training was really good. You know, we did a little it's mostly jiu-jitsu school.
Mm-hmm.
So we had probably a good showing of like, it was probably like 80-90% jiu-jitsu guys in the room. And then some people heard that I was going to be out there, so some judokas came as well. But like intermediate level judokas, you know what I mean? And then on Friday night, I did a whole, like, they did an open mat jiu-jitsu session. So I just like rolled with everybody there, you know?
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good crop out there. Good skill level.
Yeah, good skill level. I mean, California is
there.
always tough. What was difficult was the elevation. You know, I didn't really account for that, right? It was like 8,000 feet up in the air.
Yeah.
So the air was a lot thinner, you know? So I was like playing a very like less energy expenditure game. Because if I would have started moving around scrambling, I was going to die. You know?
You get gassed.
Yeah, because I'm not used to the elevation. You know, I didn't have time to adjust.
Right.
Oh, that was kind of cool. You know, adjusting for that, accounting for that. You know, yeah, it was awesome.
So how did they get in contact with you? How did they set this up?
Jess actually came to New York and did a private lesson with me a few times, right? She came to New York and, you know, she wanted to hire a jiu-jitsu instructor full-time out at her gym. So she was kind of like taking resumes, interviewing people, and she ultimately hired this guy. He's a jiu-jitsu guy from out here in Connecticut.
Okay.
So she came here and then she was doing like sort of this like educational tour where they're going to different schools. Like they went to Marcelo's, they came here for judo. And that was part of kind of that, right? She was kind of like educate her staff and things like this. And she was in New York and, you know, they dropped by and, you know, I was on her podcast. She had a podcast for a little bit. So I was on her podcast. We stayed in contact over the years. And, you know, it's been a long time coming. She's like, hey, can you come? Can you come? Right? And I was like, you know what?
August, might as well do it.
Yeah, this is my fee. These are my available dates. Let's do it. And so it happened.
Nice.
You know? Yeah.
Very cool. So how does this compare to other seminars that you've given?
It's great. Always great. You know, I think each one of these seminars are different, and I kind of take a different approach. You know, I don't go in like, hey, here's my Tatoshi bang, go hit it. You know, it's not like that.
Right.
It's very, there's like a prescriptive element to it. You know, I like rolling with the guys first at this section. I don't always roll with the guys. Don't hold me to this. Right? But then sometimes, like I was in Concord, which we'll do another separate episode for those guys, right? And then I would say, hey guys, let's, you know, start off with just light drilling for the first 10 minutes. So you'll watch people do certain things, right?
Right.
You know what I mean?
See what they're deficient at, maybe tailor something to the room. And
For instance, yeah, like with these jiu-jitsu guys, I asked everyone, can you guys just pull guard for me, right? And then part of the session was tomonage, as opposed to pulling guard. And, you know, if you watch my thing, YouTube, videos, whatever it is, you know, I kind of preach your stuff. Why do pull guard if you can do tomonage?
Right.
And I realized every single person pull guard, you know, lifting their right leg up, you know, which isn't right or wrong. You know, usually it's right versus right. And then some jiu-jitsu guys might say, oh, if you lift with the right leg up, the collar hand, they could easily pick that leg, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So as opposed to me teaching a Yoko Tomonage to the left leg going up to the hip, they're not going to be able to coordinate that.
Right.
Know? So I was like, all right, let's do this type of a Tomonage with a partner. You know what I mean? And then that's a little bit prescriptive. And I've done the same thing at different gyms, and it has worked really well, and people get Tomonage by the end of it.
So is this the first seminar you've given after kind of like your deep dive into BJJ, your recent stint?
Yes, yeah.
How does that change your approach in the room to trying to show jiu-jitsu guys judo?
You know, when I they were really surprised at my jiu-jitsu level, I think. And then now when they talk about it, I get what they're talking about. You know, pulling guard, going to De La Hiva, and then like talking about the game, like what is your strategy? They say coyote guard. Before I didn't know what coyote guard was.
Right.
You know, I know now. Right, I knew it was like in a different context. Right, I didn't know the name that went with the movement. You know, it's essentially like a half guard with like the knee cut and then locking up around the waist and the leg.
Just like a coyote.
Yeah,
Just like coyote in the wild.
You like bite into them, you hold on to them.
That's it, and you grab one leg.
So now I speak their language, you know, more so, right? And then when I show Tomonaga and I transition to certain things, and then people have more jiu-jitsu-esque questions, I could kind of relate a little bit more and then talk to them in their speak.
Right.
You know? So that helps a lot, I think. And then, you know, when they roll with them, you know, I'm much more confident, right?
Yeah.
I don't look like just a guy that's, you know, judo guy, you know, pretending to be a jiu-jitsu guy like that. But I could actually look and feel like an actual jiu-jitsu guy in the room, which is also adds to my credibility a little bit too, right?
You could go in there and hold a purely jiu-jitsu seminar, and they get quite a bit out of it.
Yeah, possibly.
On the judo stuff.
Yeah, and you know, you get questions about nogi and stuff like that, and like, hey, you know, and I'm able to answer that much more cleanly than I was able to before because I have experienced nogi jiu-jitsu, all this stuff now. You know, if you get too close, the ranges are different with gi nogi.
Right.
If you get too close, they lock up. With nogi, even if you're really close, they're not really controlling you, so you could always back up and escape most of the time, right? Unless they have their hands locked behind your back.
Right.
So explaining things like that, you know, guy was really interested in nogi. I was showing some like elbow pass stuff and like, you know, head movement stuff that is similar to the gripping game, but adjusted for maybe his nogi game.
Right.
You know, and after knowing how he does jiu-jitsu in a gi, nogi context, right? And then his strategy for it, you know, I was teaching the gi stuff, and then I was showing him how to parlay that in to his jiu-jitsu, right?
Right.
Even like a slight feint posting on the collar, you know, feint elbow pass for nogi, like those two simple things, right? I can elaborate on it without sounding
Right.
like I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's the jiu-jitsu thing is like very beneficial when I do these things because it's not always going to be at a judo school, you know, and whoever reaches out to me and whoever finds the right time alignment, those are the guys that's going to get me, right, to go to these things. So I think it helps a lot, you know.
So, as far as like, you can always look at the immediate impact,
Yeah.
right? Of like you going there, showing a move, now they're hitting that move.
Yeah.
Maybe they can work on it for the next couple months, and
Yeah.
then either it becomes a part of their game, maybe it fades a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it
Where,
doesn't fade, yeah.
where do you see like, let's say you do more seminars.
Yeah.
What is the greater impact of you traveling to these places?
I think the biggest thing is when I go to these things, a lot of other dojo owners come, right? So let's just say if I go in the middle of nowhere, let's just say like any state, you know, I go there, I'm doing a seminar, all the surrounding dojos, they don't usually like take all their students, you got to go to this thing because they never met me before.
Right.
So maybe the sensei or the teacher or the head professor might go to this thing and bring 2 or 3 of his students, right, to see what it's about, to see if it's legit. And if they really like it, they'll reach out to me independently. So in so many ways, you go out and it becomes sort of like a lead gen.
Right.
You know what I mean? I probably got maybe 8 people saying, hey, can you do a seminar at my gym? You know, being in 2 different spots on this one trip. You know, I went to California, I did Big Bear, then Concord. You know, Southern California, Northern California. And between those 2, I probably got 8 contacts.
Wow.
Like saying like, hey, can you come? So then I think you could kind of develop a relationship with the region almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At CYC, there was a guy who runs the Yudanshikai, the organization of, you know, Central California or Northern California or something like that. And even he was like, hey, I could send out a blast email to all the dojo owners, things like this. And then you could start impacting sort of not just one seminar, right? But all these guys go back to their gym and they re-find me on YouTube and they could ask me questions. And it's hard to get through to me with Instagram and messaging because I don't really read all the comments or the messages, right?
Right.
But if they preemptively say like, hey, I met you at the seminar, I have a question, I'm like much more likely to respond.
Absolutely.
I'll probably like 98% of the time I'll probably respond to something like that, you know? Because we already shared time together. We already worked out together.
Right. It's just
in some way.
you know their face more than just the
Yeah.
name on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you think like coming back around a few times, all of a sudden you'll gain that momentum maybe in
I
the,
think
in the
so.
region?
I think so. And I think I have to do, it's like you buddy from college, right? Like if you don't reach out, there's guys who reach out all the time.
Right.
There's guys who call me on like a Tuesday morning at 11. It's like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you don't work, bro. Like, right? But there's guys who are consistent and reaching out, and you develop these relationships. You got to nurture them, I think. And then you could kind of have, make it a frequent thing, where hey, I go to this place once a year. I go to this place twice a year, whatever it is. And then you could start impacting, their judo in a way that really matters, as opposed to doing like a one shot and done seminar. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to do them that good.
Right.
Like you want to help them shape their judo, and I think that's where I could kind of help. And yeah.
No, that's a huge influence because like especially the people who are only exposed to it kind of like in an entertainment style, like we always talk about, to actually do it and feel it and have you in the room. It's like, it's a bigger change for them, and they get that excitement too of like people are doing this. There's the guy is real.
Yeah, it is.
And it helps spread the game quite a bit.
As of right now, not to like shamelessly plug my own situation, but it's a flat 2,500 plus room and board. Not room and board, like flight and hotel, right? So it's flat $2,500. If you guys could charge $100 a head, $75 a head, it can be economically viable for the people hosting as well.
Right.
You get a couple of schools involved and things like this. And, the reason why you're on today is because we want to talk about some potential add-ons, because Greg Reagan is the social media guy behind the scenes for me, right? You film my videos, you edit my videos, you write the captions, you post it, you do my reels, everything.
Yeah.
Right? And, I've known you for a little while doing judo in this room. But once you showed us your skill, we're like, all right, let's freaking do this, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about like the potential of having like a media package.
Yeah. I mean,
alongside the seminar. Like, you have any good ideas on that one?
I mean, the idea of like filming, kind of editing like a reel for people to kind of keep with them will help preserve the moment, and kind of spread it and be like, oh, like I know sometimes I have to take a lesson 2 or 3 times to really understand what was going on. Yeah. And a lot of the nuances, especially if you look at like BJJ guys, all of a sudden you're using a lot of Japanese terminology that they might not understand, and the movements are very foreign. So it's like an information overload. If just on like a pure usage standpoint, if they can have something to take away, that's one thing. Yeah. And another thing, everybody loves to see themselves do judo and kind of like be a part of be in the room. Like when a celebrity's around, everyone's rushing to take selfies with the person.
It's true.
Because having a picture of someone is one step below being in a picture with someone.
That's very true. I took a picture once with the Entourage guy, Adrian Grenier. He was Vince.
Oh, yeah, Vince.
I saw him in the airport.
Oh, yeah.
And made eye contact. I was like, yo, you're that guy, right? He's like, yeah, you want a picture? I was like, sure. We took a picture. Never looked at it again. It's in my phone tomorrow. It's like, you know what I mean? And then, like, same thing, like, I was at the seminar. Everyone's taking videos. A lot of videos.
Right.
But is that really useful for them? Maybe.
I mean, it's like on the 4th of July, people take a video of a firework. It's like, why are you taking a picture of that? Like, just experience it. No one's gonna be like, yo, did you see this firework captured with my phone?
I did this. I took the fireworks and I filmed my daughter watching the fireworks.
That's what you want. You want the experience of the moment, not the thing. Like that only makes sense in the moment. So it's like same thing that you are the firework in this situation. So then to take a video of you from your perspective, maybe. But there's sweaty, breathing heavy, shaking. What if there was someone in the room just taking a professional quality video? Yes. And that it's actually consumable later.
And that would be a very good package, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll do like you come along, you film the seminar, so they have it like in a professional grade video. And a lot of these guys said, both of these seminars, like, hey, we filmed it, we're gonna watch it later. But if the quality isn't good, it's very difficult to watch and decipher, right? Yeah. So we could cut clips from the seminar and make it digestible for them, right? We could do that. We could have a reels from the seminar. We could plug their gym. We could sort of do a separate sort of a thing, a feature on our page about their gym. Not about me, like, doing the show. Look how good I am at judo. Let me show you how to do it. Yeah. But, like, this is Jess. She owns Lighthouse Academy, right? And these are her students. And this is in Big Bear City, California. All this stuff. And they could kind of have something to take away of. Sorry, Jess. We didn't think about this beforehand. It just came to me. It's just listening.
The amazing thing too is like having it on the exposure on all these different platforms. It's basically a different population every time. Yeah. And let's say someone is friends with her on Instagram, but not in the region. So whatever advertising she puts out didn't reach them. And all of a sudden now you're on screen with her, and they go, "Oh my God, she got Shintaro over here. I want to see if I can reach out and do the same thing." And that'll
And I think that was the one thing, Jess is super busy. She has a bunch of kids and all this stuff, running a business by herself. I'm busy too, as you guys already know, doing all this stuff. So we didn't really promote it so much. And it was maybe like a couple of Instagram stories that she put up and I shared. That was really all the marketing that went in on this.
Right.
And even then, we got people like, hey, we saw this thing on your Instagram. Like, we decided to come. Really cool thing. So, maybe as a part of a package deal with you coming along, maybe preemptively we'll start promoting it in our channels and all this stuff, so we could sort of have like a network of, you know what I mean? It can be pushed out on all the channels. Hey, this is what we're going to show, et cetera, et cetera. If you're in this region, come check it out and have that be part of a thing too, right?
Absolutely.
Because the more we could share judo to the people who want it, the better. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean that's always been the biggest thing is like the quality of online accessible.
So how much do you charge for this?
How much do I charge for this?
$19,000.
$19,000. Yeah. I need a blank check. And then I'll go show. Let's say 2,500. I guess I don't. It depends. It's all.
2,500 is my flat fee. So on top of that, another 2,500.
We can always edit this.
Economically viable. Who knows? I don't know. Who knows? Right?
Depends what you want.
You got to come up with your tiers. You got to come up with your tiers.
Yeah.
We'll do that. If you're watching, reach out and then ask these questions because you could have a whole full-blown media package situation. We could also bring Eugene if you have knee injuries. It's funny. We're like, how many of you guys had knee issues?
The whole room.
Yeah, it's like I said this at a seminar. It's like the whole. I did this at the Concord gym.
Right.
When I was doing the seminar, how many of you guys had knee problems?
The whole room. Yes. Which how many?
I can't even say that. Even in the lighthouse, there was this really cool guy, Brendan, and he was like, "Oh, I can't do any of this, so my knee's bagged up." I'm like, "Hey, man, me and you both."
Yeah. So, everyone, when Eugene was on the podcast, all the comments were like, "Can you show some of these things? Like, I'm trying to heal here." So maybe next time.
So maybe we'll bring Eugene to do.
Well, the whole crew. We'll set up a trapeze and we'll do Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, so it could be a good idea, right? I mean, I don't know what you guys, if you're watching this, leave it in the comments. We're always open to ideas, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's always best, like baseball teams. They go out and they play all the West Coast teams in one shot. We go out, schedule a big thing, and maybe hit some spots, and it works out. Everyone can, participate.
Yeah. But yeah, the seminar was great. Thank you, Jess, for hosting. We went over a lot of initial stuff. Sort of not gripping basics, but like footwork basics, hand placement basics for jiu-jitsu. Because it was judo for jiu-jitsu essentially, right?
Right.
And then like how to properly create angles, as you're approaching to put your hands on. And a lot of these principles come from boxing, really. Right, creating an angle. It's not as simple as like just stepping to the side and create an angle. Because you just step to the right, they're just going to step also with you, right? Or they're going to mirror you or sidestep with you. So it's like step, and then step and cut back the other way.
Right.
It's kind of like basketball. And, I make this analogy all the time, misdirecting steps and then faking a shot,
So how much...
when they react, then you move out.
What was like the level of pure judo that they were exposed to out there, at any given room?
Which
Big
Bear City, you mean?
Or anywhere, like, what's the general vibe anywhere you go? It's like, okay, these people know judo to this extent, maybe like...
I think like some of the most competitive gyms, for instance, like, let's just say, I'm throwing some out there, like the ones in Florida, there's the one in Florida that produces tons of champions, Jimmy Pedro's gym, Jason Morris's gym, San Jose State, Chuck Jefferson has a really good club, Aaron Cohen's club. Those guys aren't really like reaching out to me to host seminars,
No.
Right. So those guys have tons of experience on the international circuit, producing national champions and things like this, It's majority like, I wouldn't say smaller gyms necessarily, but some gyms do more seminars than others. It's like a part of their thing.
Right.
Hey, every month we have a seminar coming up. Hey, some gyms do a lot of open mats and things like this. What I found in the judo community is some of the best ones, the highest, I don't want to say like caliber, but like the ones that are exposed to the highest level judos, those guys aren't really,
Right. So, I mean, so it's a lot of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys, and they bring you in, obviously to give them a jolt of judo.
Yeah.
But you walk into any given room, what let you say, okay, this guy has an uchi and he kind of has a semblance of an uchimata, or it's like,
this is the thing, right? I teach very differently. I think. I teach a lot of contextual judo, and I have some philosophies like, yes, ochi mechanics are important. Knowing how to do the ochi and finishing the ochi, that stuff is important. Or like I do this kind of crossbody ochi. Yes, that stuff is important, but if you can never get there, you're not going to get good at it.
right.
So working on the contextual stuff of getting to that position, whether it's like throwing feints, mistiming it, adding positional advantages and such, you could enter into these moves more, which means you get more repetitions in a live setting trying to finish these techniques. So naturally, the mechanics of finishing get better. Right. So I like focusing on that portion of it, whether it's gripping, fighting for position, and gaining position. And then, of course, there's the whole finishing side. I like to kind of package everything so they could use these ideas and fill it in with their techniques that they already do. Right? Because if you've never done Taio before, me showing Taio with no context of like before and afters, it's just like kind of useless, I think. And I found I've been to some of the best seminars, right? The guys, some of the best,
Top
top guys,
Yeah.
and they were terrible seminars. I'm not trying to put anyone down. I've been to seminars where the athlete was so freaking good and so athletic, and he showed this crazy move that not one person in the room was able to do it. They just physically couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, first of all, the guy was really a lightweight. None of the heavyweights can even make
The shape of the
you
move.
just can't do it.
Right.
It required a lot of flexibility, acrobatics. All this stuff. It's just like you just couldn't be able to do it. So I think in that way, I'm pretty distinguished. And yeah, I don't know if I'm just rambling now.
No. I think that's fair. I was just curious to see like to plug and play is such a great ability, right? To give them that tool, but then sometimes you could size a person up and be like, all right, the way they pull the left hand, you can only learn that by practicing judo. Like how much judo did you practice versus what you see online and try to do it on a guy once.
Yeah, you definitely need to do it, and then a lot of these guys, they go too fast and then default to their usual judo, right? So it's like when you're trying to learn a new skill, you're trying to deprogram what you already know and add new stuff to it, right?
Yeah.
You gotta go slow. You gotta go slow. Line by line, like a programmer. Right? So,
all right.
Yeah, reach out to us. Judo Shintaro NYC on my Instagram. If you want seminar services, my flat rate right now is $2,500 for a flat fee session, airplane, hotel, and then Greg has a social media package also. We could feature you on the thing, and then he'll cut some reels for you, make some videos for you. That's, I don't know what the price is going to be. Maybe it's $2,500. I don't know. Whatever you guys want to pay, Greg will take it. And then if you also want to reach Yuji, it's Yuji and NYC on social Instagram, he'll fix your knee for you. There's a huge need, I'm telling you, man.
So it's $2,500. You can get whatever you
I
want.
was like, my shoulder's jerked, and they were like, oh, me too, man. I was like, what's wrong with yours? And I was like, subscap, this and the supraspinatus, partial tear, bursitis, and then slap tear in the labrum. What about yours? And they were like, I don't fucking know.
Just hurts.
I was like, you need a Eugene in your life.
Exactly. We all do.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys.